The distress signal. Captain Ilara Voss stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, Earth's most advanced deep space exploration vessel, her hands clasped behind her back as she gazed at the swirling cosmic dust of the Sagittarius arm displayed on the main view screen. After 15 years of interstellar exploration, humanity had charted just a tiny fraction of the Milky Way, finding only ruins and remnants of long-dead civilizations. The question that had haunted Earth for centuries, "Are we alone?" remained partially unanswered. "Captain, we're detecting an unusual signal," reported Communications Officer Raj Patel, his brow furrowed as he adjusted his console settings. "It's not matching any known pattern in our database." Voss turned, her steel-gray eyes narrowing. "Source: unknown, but it's coming from the Proxima Centauri system. Signal characteristics suggest it's artificial." Science Officer Dr. Elena Rice approached, tablet in hand. "Captain, I've analyzed the waveform. It's definitely not natural and contains mathematical sequences that indicate intelligence." "A distress signal?" Voss asked. Rice nodded. "That would be my assessment. And based on the decay rate, it was sent recently." Voss felt her pulse quicken. Humanity had found ruins, artifacts, and evidence of extinct civilizations before, but never a living, spacefaring species. "Plot a course to the source, maximum speed," she ordered. The Pathfinder's advanced quantum drives engage, folding space as the ship accelerated toward Proxima Centauri. 3 hours later, they dropped out of FTL at the edge of the system, sensors immediately scanning the vicinity. "Multiple energy signatures detected," reported Tactical Officer Commander Jackson Way, his voice tight with tension. "There's a battle in progress." The main view screen shifted to show a desperate conflict unfolding around the system's second planet. A dozen sleek, crystalline vessels were engaged in a fighting retreat against 3 massive black ships that resembled obsidian spiders, each nearly the size of a small moon. The smaller vessels appear to be protecting civilian transports, Wei continued, pointing to several slower-moving ships attempting to flee the planet. "The larger aggressors are methodically destroying the defenders and bombarding the planet's surface." "Life signs?" Voss demanded. "Billions on the planet," Rice reported, her voice barely above a whisper. "The readings are unlike anything in our database. Definitely not human." Voss felt the weight of the moment press down on her shoulders. Earth Space Command protocols were clear. Observe and report when encountering unknown species, avoid interference in conflicts between alien civilizations, and prioritize Earth's safety above all else. But as she watched the systematic destruction unfold before her, Voss knew she couldn't simply stand by. "Tactical assessment, Commander Wei." Wei studied his displays intently. "The aggressors outclass us technologically. Their weapon systems are beyond our current understanding. The defenders are using what appear to be energy-based technologies, but they're losing ground rapidly." First Officer Commander Marcus Chen stepped closer to Voss. "Captain, with all due respect, ESC protocols are explicit about non-interference." "I'm aware of the protocols, Commander," Voss replied, her eyes never leaving the screen. "I'm also aware that we're witnessing what appears to be genocide." The bridge fell silent as the crew watched another defender ship explode in a brilliant flash of light. The civilian transport it had been protecting was immediately targeted by one of the massive aggressor vessels. "Open a channel to the defending fleet," Voss ordered, straightening her uniform, "and bring all weapon systems online." Chen's eyes widened. "Captain, those protocols were written by people who never had to watch a civilization being slaughtered." "Commander," Voss cut him off. "History will judge us by what we do in this moment." "Channel open," Patel announced. Voss squared her shoulders. "This is Captain Ilara Voss of the Earth exploration vessel Pathfinder. We've received your distress signal and stand ready to assist. Please advise on coordination." For several tense seconds, there was no response. Then the view screen flickered, and an alien face appeared. The being had luminescent skin that shifted colors like an octopus, with large, multifaceted eyes that reminded Voss of diamonds. Earth vessel, the alien spoke, its voice translated through the ship's advanced linguistic systems. I am Fleet Commander Tellerus of the Lumina Collective. Your offer is unexpected but welcomed. However, I must warn you, the Void Harvesters show no mercy. They will destroy you as readily as they are destroying us. We understand the risks, Voss replied steadily. Send tactical data to our systems. We'll coordinate our attack. As the Pathfinder moved into position alongside the Luminan vessels, Rise approached Voss again. Captain, I've analyzed the partial data they sent. The Void Harvesters appear to be a nomadic species that travels between star systems, systematically harvesting resources, including sentient life, before moving on. How many civilizations have they destroyed? Voss asked. According to the Lumina, dozens that they know of. The Harvesters leave nothing behind. Voss's jaw tightened. Then it's time someone stopped them. Commander Wei, what are their weaknesses? Wei studied the incoming tactical data. Their ships have energy nodes at each junction point. Here, and here, he indicated on the display. The Lumina weapons aren't powerful enough to penetrate their defenses, but our quantum torpedoes might disrupt their energy matrix if precisely targeted. Target those nodes, Voss ordered, and inform the Lumina of our strategy. The Pathfinder swooped toward the nearest harvester vessel, its advanced stealth systems temporarily masking its approach. The human ship was dwarfed by the massive alien vessel, like a hummingbird attacking an eagle. Fire torpedoes, full spread, Voss commanded. The Pathfinder's quantum torpedoes streaked through space, each one precisely targeting a junction node on the harvester ship. When they detonated, the explosions cascaded along the alien vessel's hull, disrupting its energy field. Direct hit, Wei reported. Their defensive field is fluctuating. The Lumina are repositioning to focus fire on the weak points, Patil added. Voss nodded. Maintain position and prepare second volley. The combined assault from the Pathfinder and the Lumina fleet began to turn the tide. One of the harvester vessels, its energy nodes disabled, drifted aimlessly as its systems failed. The defending ships, emboldened by the unexpected ally, pressed their advantage. But the remaining harvesters quickly adapted their tactics. A massive energy beam lanced out from the lead vessel, striking the Pathfinder directly. The ship shuddered violently as alarms blared across the bridge. Hull breach on decks 5 through 7, Chen reported. Shields failing. Evasive maneuvers, Voss ordered, gripping her command chair as the ship lurched. Captain, Reyes called out, I've analyzed their attack pattern. The harvesters are using a form of quantum entanglement for their coordination. If we could disrupt that signal. Do it, Voss said without hesitation. Reyes and the engineering team quickly repurposed the ship's communication array to generate a counter-frequency. As the disruptive signal spread across the battlefield, the harvester vessel's perfect coordination began to falter. It's working, Wei confirmed. Their attack pattern is breaking down. Voss didn't waste the opportunity. Signal the Lumina. Tell them to concentrate all fire on the lead vessel's central hub while they're disorganized. The combined firepower of the Lumina fleet, now joined by the Pathfinder, converged on the lead harvester ship. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, like a dying star, the vessel erupted in a cascade of explosions, its segmented hull breaking apart in the void of space. The remaining harvester ship, faced with unexpected resistance and unable to coordinate effectively, began to withdraw, accelerating away from the battlefield before disappearing into FTL. The bridge crew of the Pathfinder watched in stunned silence, scarcely believing what had just occurred. They're retreating, Wei confirmed, disbelief evident in his voice. Commander Tellerus's face appeared on the view screen again, the alien skin now pulsed with bright blues and golds. Emotions Voss couldn't decipher, but the meaning in their voice was unmistakable. Earth vessel, they said, the Lumina, and the 12 other species of our sector owe you a debt that cannot be repaid. For generations, we have watched the void harvesters consume world after world. No one has ever stood against them successfully before. Voss nodded solemnly. We couldn't stand by and watch your people suffer. But I need to understand, who are these harvesters? Why are they attacking you? Telleris's colors darkened. They are an ancient species that travels between star clusters. They do not communicate or negotiate. They simply harvest resources, technology, even people. They take what they want and leave worlds barren. And they've done this to other civilizations. Many, Telleris confirmed. The Lumina are but one of dozens of species who have suffered at their hands. Most were not fortunate enough to have defenders arrive in their hour of need. Voss felt a cold certainty settle in her stomach. This wasn't just about saving one alien civilization. This was about something far greater, a predatory force that threatened the very concept of peaceful coexistence among the stars. Commander, she said, her decision already made. I would like to propose an alliance between our peoples. But first, I need to return to Earth with this information. The harvesters may have retreated for now, but I suspect they'll return. And next time, they might not just be coming for the Lumina. Telleris's multifaceted eyes seemed to glimmer with something like hope. You would stand with us against the darkness between stars. Voss looked around at her crew, seeing the same resolve reflected in their faces. Humanity has always wondered if we're alone in the universe, she said. Now we know we're not. And we won't let you face this threat alone. As the Pathfinder prepared to return to Earth, Voss knew she was carrying more than just information about first contact. She was carrying the seeds of humanity's new purpose among the stars, not just explorers, but protectors. The galaxy was full of life, and some of that life needed defenders. Humanity was about to answer a calling they never knew they had. Alliance of the Desperate. 6 months after the Pathfinder's return to Earth, Admiral Ilara Voss stood in the observation deck of the newly commissioned UES Defender, the flagship of humanity's hastily assembled Guardian fleet. Through the viewports, Earth grew smaller as 27 warships, the largest fleet humanity had ever assembled, prepared to journey into the unknown. Fleet is assembled and ready, Admiral, reported Fleet Commander Samira Kari, her dark eyes reflecting the starlight. Voss nodded, still uncomfortable with the Admiral's insignia on her uniform. When she had returned to Earth with news of the Void Harvesters, the planet had erupted in a frenzy of activity. Some feared provoking an enemy that could threaten Earth, while others argued humanity had a moral obligation to help. In the end, the decision had been made. Earth would stand with the Lumina and any other species threatened by the Harvesters. Signal the fleet, Voss ordered. We're departing on schedule. The journey to the designated rendezvous point in the Proxima Centauri system took 3 days. When they arrived, Voss caught her breath at the sight that greeted them. Not just the crystalline ships of the Lumina, but vessels of dozens of different designs representing 15 distinct species, all waiting for humanity's arrival. The Coalition representatives are ready to come aboard for the summit, Chowry informed her. The Defender's main conference room had been specially modified to accommodate the various environmental needs of the alien delegations. As Voss entered, she was struck by the diversity of life before her. From the luminescent Telleris to the insectoid Exarchath, from the gaseous Mithridian envoys contained in specialized environments, suits to the massive, tentacled Drelnatar ambassador. Welcome to all, Voss began, standing at the head of the circular table. I am Admiral Ilara Voss of Earth. 6 months ago, my vessel encountered the Lumina under attack by the Void Harvesters. Today we come to formalize our alliance against this common threat. An envoy from the Exarchath stepped forward, its chitinous exoskeleton clicking softly. We appreciate Earth's commitment, Admiral, but you must understand. Many of us have been fighting the Harvesters for generations. They cannot be defeated, only survived. Perhaps that is because you have fought separately, Voss countered. Our strength will be in unity. The holographic representation of a Mithridian shifted colors rapidly, their form of communication. The harvesters adapt quickly to any strategy. They learn from each encounter and return stronger. Which is why we need to stop playing defense, interjected Dr. Elena Reyes, now Earth's chief xenobiologist and diplomat. The harvesters have been successful because they choose the time and place of engagement. We need to take the fight to them. A murmur ran through the assembly. Impossible, rumbled the Drell Netar ambassador, its massive tentacles undulating. No one knows where the harvesters originate. Tellaris moved to the center of the room, skin pulsing with determined blues. Not entirely true. The Lumina have been gathering intelligence for centuries. We believe we have identified a pattern to their movements, and potentially the location of their central hub. The room fell silent as Tellaris activated a holographic display showing a spiral map of the galaxy with various points illuminated. These are all known harvester attacks over the past millennium, Tellaris explained. When analyzed collectively, they'd radiate outward from this region. A section of the galactic core brightened. You're suggesting we launch an offensive against their home territory? Asked the Exarcheth representative, mandibles clicking in agitation. Suicide. Voss studied the map intently. Not necessarily. The harvesters have been successful because they're always attacking isolated worlds. They've never faced a united force. Even if all our fleets combined, argued a crystalline being from the Thraxian collective, we would be outnumbered and outgunned. Numbers and firepower aren't everything, countered Commander Jackson Way, now Voss's tactical advisor. During our encounter with the harvesters, we discovered they rely on quantum entanglement for coordination. We were able to disrupt that signal temporarily. Temporarily, emphasized the Exarcheth. They will have adapted by now. True, Way acknowledged, but it gives us insight into their vulnerabilities. Each species here has faced the harvesters and survived, which means each of you has discovered something about them. If we pool our knowledge. For the next several hours, representatives from each species shared their experiences fighting the harvesters, their tactics, technologies, and the few weaknesses they had identified. Patterns began to emerge. The Drell Netar had discovered the harvesters' vessels were vulnerable to specific gravitational disruptions. The Thraxians had developed shields that could temporarily withstand their energy weapons. The Mithridians had found ways to mask life signs from harvester sensors. This is exactly what I hoped for, Voss said as the discussion continued. Each piece of information on its own isn't enough. But together we might have a chance, Tellaris finished. As the summit progressed over several days, a plan began to take shape. The coalition would form 3 main fleet groups, each combining vessels from different species to leverage their unique strengths. Earth's ships, while not the most technologically advanced, would serve as coordination centers due to their advanced communication systems. There's still the matter of approaching their hub undetected, pointed out the Exarcheth representative. The moment we amass our forces, they will know. It was Commander Marcus Chen, now captain of his own vessel in the Guardian fleet, who offered a solution. What if we don't approach as a unified fleet? The harvesters are used to hunting isolated prey. Let's use that against them. Chen outlined a strategy where coalition ships would approach the target zone in small, seemingly unrelated groups, appearing to be easy targets. Only when all forces were in position would they converge for a coordinated strike. A desperate gambit, rumbled the Drell Netar, but perhaps our only option. As the summit concluded, representatives from each species placed their hands, or equivalent appendages, on a central console, symbolizing their commitment to the alliance. The Coalition of Free Species was born, the first multi-species military alliance in known galactic history. Before departing, Tellaris approached Voss privately. When my people sent that distress signal, we had no hope of rescue. We were simply documenting our end for whoever might find our remains centuries later. Sometimes hope comes from unexpected places, Voss replied. Your species is young in the stars. Admiral, Tellerus observed, colors shifting thoughtfully. Yet you've accomplished something none of us could. You've given us unity. And perhaps more importantly, you've given us hope. As the coalition forces began preparations for what many believed would be their final battle, news arrived from the outer systems. The Harvesters had begun a new offensive, more aggressive than any before. They were no longer just targeting isolated worlds, but moving methodically through populated systems. They're coming for all of us now, Rise concluded during an emergency strategy session. They've identified us as a threat. Then we've already changed something, Voss noted. For the first time, they're reacting to us instead of the other way around. Small comfort if they obliterate us all, Chen remarked grimly. It means they can feel threatened, Voss countered. And anything that can feel threatened can be defeated. The coalition accelerated their preparations. Earth sent every available ship, stripping its home defenses to the minimum. Other species made similar sacrifices. For 3 intense months, they trained together, learning to coordinate despite vast differences in technology, tactics, and communication styles. Humanity's greatest contribution turned out to be neither weaponry nor tactics, but adaptability. Where the older species were often rigid in their approaches, humans constantly sought new solutions, improvised when plans failed, and built bridges between vastly different cultures. Finally, the day of departure arrived. The combined coalition fleet, over 300 vessels from 17 species, prepared to embark on their desperate mission. They would travel separately, converging only at the final moment. Aboard the Defender, Voss addressed her crew one last time before departure. What we're attempting has never been done before. We're not just fighting for Earth or even for our new allies. We're fighting for the right of all sentient beings to exist without fear of extinction. She paused, looking at the faces of her crew, humans who had volunteered for a mission from which many would not return. The Harvesters believed themselves to be the apex predators of the galaxy, she continued. They've never encountered a united resistance. Today, we show them that life, all life, fights back. As the Defender led Earth's contingent away from the rendezvous point, Voss felt the weight of history on her shoulders. Humanity had ventured into space wondering if they were alone. Now they were about to fight alongside 16 other species in a battle that would determine the future of all civilized life in the galaxy. The die was cast. The coalition was committed. And somewhere in the darkness of space, the Void Harvesters continued their relentless advance, unaware that for the first time in their long history, prey had become predator. The final stand. The journey to the Harvester Hub took 47 days. Following their strategy, coalition vessels approached in small, seemingly unrelated groups, using various methods to mask their true intentions. Some disguised themselves as civilian transports, others as mining vessels. Earth ships, less advanced but more versatile, often served as decoys, drawing Harvester attention, while other coalition vessels gathered intelligence. Admiral Voss spent the journey on the UES Defender, coordinating Earth's fleet while attempting to maintain communication with the scattered coalition forces. It was a delicate balance. Too much communication might alert the Harvesters to their plan. Too little, and the coalition might fall apart before the battle even began. "We're approaching the designated coordinates," announced Navigator Sarah Okonkwo as the Defender dropped out of FTL at the edge of an enormous nebula that glowed an ominous red against the blackness of space. "Status report," Voss ordered, her voice steady despite the tension that gripped the bridge. "All Earth vessels accounted for," reported Commander Kari, receiving confirmation signals from approximately 85% of coalition forces. The others? Kari's expression darkened. No response. "We must assume they were intercepted." Voss nodded grimly. They had expected losses even before the main engagement. And the target? Dr. Rice approached with a data tablet. Sensors confirmed Tellerus was right. There's an enormous structure at the center of the nebula, artificial and definitely Harvester in origin. Energy readings are off the scale. Tactical Officer Wei studied his displays intently. detecting multiple harvester vessels patrolling the perimeter. At least 50 capital ships, plus smaller craft. More than we anticipated, Voss noted, keeping her voice neutral despite the spike of anxiety the news triggered. "We could abort," suggested Chen over the comm from his own vessel, the UES Valiant. "Retreat and reassess." Voss shook her head. "This is our one chance at surprise. If we withdraw now, they'll be ready for us next time." She turned to communications. "Signal all coalition vessels. Execute Phase 1. Throughout the nebula, the scattered coalition forces began their coordinated approach. The Axarketh and Drellmitter fleets emerged from hiding places within the nebula's dense gas clouds. The Lumina vessels decloaked in perfect formation. Earth ships, along with those of the Thraxians and Mithridians, accelerated from their holding positions. For the first time, the coalition forces revealed their true strength, converging toward the Harvester hub from all directions. "They've detected us," Wei reported as Harvester patrol ships rapidly changed course to intercept. "Their fleet is mobilizing." "As expected," Voss replied. "Deploy gravitational disruptors." This had been the Drellnatter contribution to their strategy. Massive devices that generated localized gravitational fields designed to interfere with the Harvester's propulsion systems. As the disruptors activated, several Harvester vessels suddenly found themselves struggling against invisible currents, their movements becoming sluggish and unpredictable. "It's working," Wei confirmed. "Their lead vessels are experiencing significant navigational difficulties." "Phase 2, Voss ordered. The Coalition's faster, more maneuverable ships surged forward, targeting the disoriented Harvester vessels. Meanwhile, Earth ships deployed the quantum disruption field developed from their first encounter, enhanced now with Mithridian technology to penetrate the Harvester's adapted defenses. As the disruption field expanded, the perfect coordination that made the Harvesters so lethal began to falter. Individual Harvester ships continued fighting effectively, but their collective strategy collapsed into chaos. Harvester capital ships are launching fighters, Wei reported as thousands of smaller craft poured from the larger vessels. As anticipated, Voss replied, "Signal the Thraxians and Lumina to initiate Phase 3. The crystalline ships of the Lumina and the advanced energy vessels of the Thraxians moved into formation, generating a synchronized shield network that created corridors through the battlefield. Corridors that coalition ships could traverse safely, but that would disintegrate Harvester fighters on contact. Coalition penetration teams report ready," Chowry announced. This was the most crucial and dangerous part of their plan. While the main fleet engaged the Harvester forces, specialized teams would attempt to infiltrate the central hub itself. "Give them the go-ahead," Voss ordered. 6 small, heavily modified vessels, including Earth's advanced stealth ship UES Phantom, broke formation and accelerated toward the hub, using the chaos of battle as cover. "Infiltration team is away," Cowrie confirmed. "Estimated time to hub penetration, 14 minutes. Those 14 minutes stretched into an eternity as the battle intensified around them. The Coalition's initial advantage of surprise was fading as the Harvesters adapted to their tactics. 3 luminous ships vanished in brilliant flashes as Harvester beams found their targets. A Drellmitter dreadnought, its hull breached in multiple places, deliberately rammed a Harvester capital ship, destroying both vessels in a cataclysmic explosion. "Infiltration team reports they've reached the hub perimeter," Chowry finally announced. "They're initiating penetration protocols." Aboard the Phantom, Captain Zura Hassan and her multinational crew approached the massive Harvester structure. Up close, it resembled a dark metal lattice the size of a small moon, with energy pulses flowing through its framework like blood through veins. "Structural analysis complete," reported the Phantom's science officer, a Lumina named Syrinx. "The hub appears to be both a command center and a power source. Those energy conduits are channeling massive amounts of power to something at the core." "Life signs?" Hassan asked. "Indeterminate," Syrinx replied. skin pulsing with frustrated oranges. The energy readings are interfering with biosensors. We'll proceed as planned, Hassan decided. Prepare the quantum charges. The infiltration plan called for precisely placed explosive devices at key junction points, designed to trigger a chain reaction throughout the structure. Meanwhile, the other infiltration vessels would target different sections of the hub. As the Phantom maneuvered closer, automated defense systems activated, firing energy beams that the stealth ship narrowly avoided. They know we're here, Hassan noted grimly. We'll have to go EVA to plant the charges manually. Volunteers. Every crew member raised their hand or appendage. Let us go, suggested Syrinx, gesturing to themselves, and the XR Keth engineer Catal. Our species can withstand the radiation levels out there longer than humans. Hassan nodded reluctantly. Maintain constant communication. First sign of trouble, you return immediately. As Syrinx and Catal ventured outside the ship to place the charges, the battle continued to rage around the hub. The Coalition forces were holding their own, but suffering heavy losses. The Harvester vessels, while disorganized, were formidable individual combatants. Aboard the Defender, Voss watched the tactical display with growing concern. Status of the infiltration team. The Phantom reports they're placing charges now, Kauri replied. 2 other teams have successfully placed their payloads. 1 team was lost. No word from the remaining 2. Voss's grip tightened on the railing. Estimated time until detonation. 7 minutes if all goes according to plan. Signal all vessels to prepare for immediate withdrawal once the charges detonate, Voss ordered. We'll need to clear the blast radius quickly. But the Harvesters seemed to sense the Coalition's endgame. Their remaining capital ships suddenly broke engagement, converging on the hub in a defensive formation. They're moving to protect the hub, Wei reported. They'll intercept our infiltration teams before they can complete their mission. Voss made a swift decision. Direct all available firepower on those capital ships. We need to buy our teams more time. The Coalition fleet, already stretched thin, redirected their attack, focusing everything they had on the Harvester defenders. It was a desperate gambit that left their own vessels vulnerable, but they had no choice. Aboard the Phantom, Hassan received the increasingly urgent updates. How much longer? She demanded. Final charge being placed now, Syrinx reported over the comm, their voice strained from exertion. But we have company. Harvester drones had detected the EVA team and were converging on their position. Catal was already firing defensive bursts from a specialized weapon, but they were grossly outnumbered. Get back to the ship, Hassan ordered. Now. Charge isn't armed yet, Syrinx replied. Almost there. A burst of static followed, then silence. Syrinx. Catal. Report. Hassan demanded, but there was no response. The Phantom's sensors detected a small explosion near where the team had been working. Not the charges detonating, but something smaller. Captain, the human engineer reported. Voice tight. Seismic sensors indicate the final charge is armed. Syrinx must have completed the sequence before. Hassan closed her eyes briefly, then snapped back to alertness. Signal the fleet. All charges placed and armed. Detonation in 3 minutes. Begin withdrawal. Throughout the battlefield, Coalition vessels began disengaging, using their remaining energy to accelerate away from the hub. The Harvesters, seemingly confused by this sudden retreat, hesitated in their pursuit. Aboard the Defender, Voss watched the countdown with bated breath. Status of Coalition vessels. 62% have cleared the estimated blast radius, Kauri reported. The rest are still in the danger zone. We can't wait any longer, Wei advised, eyes on his tactical display. The Harvesters are regrouping. If they figure out what we've done, signal all remaining vessels, Voss ordered. Maximum emergency thrust. We detonate on schedule. The Phantom was among the last ships to clear the immediate vicinity of the hub, its engines straining as it accelerated away. Hassan watched through the viewport as the massive structure receded behind them. Detonation in 10 seconds, her navigator announced. Throughout the Coalition fleet, crews braced for impact as the countdown reached 0. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a pinpoint of light appeared at the center of the hub, rapidly expanding outward. The structure seemed to implode first, collapsing inward before erupting in a blinding explosion that rippled through the nebula. The shockwave hit the Coalition fleet moments later, battering shields and sending ships tumbling. The Defender shuddered violently as emergency systems activated throughout the vessel. "Report," Voss demanded once the initial wave had passed. "Hub has been completely destroyed," White confirmed, unable to keep the amazement from his voice. Energy readings confirmed total structural failure. "And the harvester ships? Those closest to the hub were destroyed instantly," White reported. "The rest?" He paused, studying his readings. "They're shutting down." "Explain," Voss demanded. Reyes moved to the tactical station, examining the data herself. It appears the hub wasn't just a command center. It was a power source. Without it, the harvester vessels can't function. Throughout the battlefield, the remaining harvester ships drifted lifelessly, their energy signatures fading to nothing. "We did it," Chari whispered, disbelief evident in her voice. "We actually did it." Voss didn't allow herself to celebrate yet. Casualties. The report was sobering. Nearly 40% of the Coalition fleet had been lost or severely damaged. Thousands of lives from 17 different species had been sacrificed to achieve victory. As the surviving vessels regrouped, a transmission came through from Tellerus aboard the Lumina flagship. Admiral Voss, the alien commander, greeted, their skin pulsing with brilliant colors that needed no translation. "Against all odds, we have prevailed. The Void Harvesters, who have terrorized our galaxy for millennia, have been defeated." "At great cost," Voss acknowledged solemnly. "A cost willingly paid," Tellerus replied. "For the first time in living memory, our worlds can look to the future without fear of extinction." The alien commander paused. "This victory belongs to all of us, but it would not have been possible without Earth's leadership. Humanity showed us that together, we are stronger than any enemy." In the days that followed, the Coalition began the long journey home. Damaged vessels were assisted by those still operational, regardless of species. The bonds forged in battle continued to strengthen as they traveled together. 3 months later, representatives from all 17 species gathered on Earth for a formal ceremony. A memorial was dedicated to those lost in what historians were already calling the Battle of the Hub. But it was more than a memorial. It was also